In the bustling metropolis of Lagos, the sprawling compound of Chief Okoye stood as a testament to wealth, influence, and power. Once a respected tycoon, now a divorced man with a tarnished reputation, Chief Okoye's name still echoed through the corridors of society, though the truth about his life was much darker. His grown-up children, now living abroad, remained blissfully unaware of the scandal brewing behind the compound's high walls. Imaobong, a humble cleaning lady in the house, had always been a silent observer. Every day, she cleaned the lavish rooms, swept the grand hallways, and polished the priceless furnishings. Through the windows of her life, she witnessed the endless parade of glamorous women who came and went, each one charmed by Chief Okoye's reckless allure. These women were symbols of the world she longed for, a world of affluence and power that always seemed just out of her reach. Yet, Imaobong's ambition burned quietly. She wanted more than just to be a servant. She wanted to be his partner. She wanted to be the mother of his child. One morning, after a grand party that had left the house in disarray, Imaobong ventured into the chief's expansive bedroom to clean up the remnants of the night. Amid the chaos of empty glasses and discarded decorations, her eyes caught sight of something, a used condom, carelessly discarded on the floor. It wasn't just an insignificant object, it was the key to the future she desperately craved. Imaobong saw an opportunity. She could make the chief acknowledge her, and in doing so, elevate herself from her lowly station. In a reckless act of ambition, she carefully collected the condom and, without hesitation, inseminated herself. To her, this was the only way to ensure her place in the chief's world. Weeks passed, and the quiet of Imaobong's modest home was shattered by the discovery of her pregnancy. But this wasn't just any pregnancy, she was carrying twins. In her heart, hope swelled. The twins would be her ticket to a life she had only dreamed of. The child she carried would make Chief Okoye acknowledge her, and perhaps, just perhaps, he would see her not as a servant, but as a partner. With newfound determination, Imaobong prepared to confront the chief. She knew this revelation would change everything. It was a quiet evening when Imaobong gathered the courage to confront Chief Okoye. The compound was still, and the sounds of the lavish party that had just ended had faded into the night. She walked into his private study, where he was sitting, a glass of whiskey in hand, looking out the window. "I have something to tell you," Imaobong began, her voice trembling but steady. The words she had rehearsed over and over in her head now felt heavier than she could have imagined. She stood before him, the moment arriving at last. "I'm pregnant," she announced, her voice firm despite the overwhelming fear in her heart. "And the father is you." Chief Okoye's face twisted in confusion. He turned to look at her, his expression one of complete disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. His voice was cold, his gaze hard. "I never had a relationship with you." Imaobong's heart pounded. "But it's true. I'm carrying your child, twins." Her words hung in the air, and for a brief moment, she thought he might believe her. But instead, Chief Okoye stood up, pushing his chair back with a sharp scrape. "This is absurd," he yelled. "You must be out of your mind. I've never been with you." He paced furiously across the room. "This is nothing but a ridiculous lie." Before she could say another word, he pointed toward the door. "Get out of my house. Now." Imaobong stood frozen for a moment, the weight of his dismissal crashing down on her. Her body trembled with both humiliation and fury, but she turned and left without another word. But Imaobong was not done. Her ambition was too strong to be easily dismissed, and her sense of justice, twisted as it was, drove her to go further. A few days later, the compound was bustling with the energy of a lavish gathering. Guests had arrived to celebrate an important event, and the mansion was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the scent of expensive food. Chief Okoye, still reeling from the private confrontation, tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but the tension within him was palpable. Imaobong entered the grand hall with a sense of purpose. She was no longer the quiet servant cleaning the floors. Tonight, she was a woman who had been wronged, a woman with a secret to expose. As the evening's festivities continued, Imaobong approached the center of the room, and all eyes turned to her as she spoke out, her voice trembling at first but gaining strength with each word. "Everyone needs to hear the truth," she declared, her gaze locked on Chief Okoye, who stood stunned at the sudden interruption. "On a night you were drunk, you seduced me. You left behind irrefutable evidence, and now, I am pregnant with your children." The room fell silent, and a cold wave of shock swept through the crowd. Whispers began to ripple through the guests, some gasping in disbelief. Chief Okoye's face paled as he stared at Imaobong, his expression one of utter horror. "You're lying," he shouted, but there was no stopping the momentum of the scandal now. The damage had been done. The murmur in the room grew louder as the guests exchanged knowing glances. The once respected tycoon had become the subject of an unimaginable public scandal, and the carefully built walls of his empire seemed to crumble before his very eyes. "Enough!" Chief Okoye finally barked, but his command was drowned out by the growing chaos. His world was unraveling at an alarming pace. The scandal he had tried so desperately to avoid had now burst into the open, and it seemed nothing could stop it. As the news of the scandal spread through Lagos like wildfire, Chief Okoye's reputation began to unravel. His business partners, once loyal, distanced themselves. His children, angry and disillusioned, refused to speak to him. The fallout was swift and merciless, leaving him scrambling to salvage whatever was left of his dignity. His every move was now scrutinized, and his empire, once a symbol of strength, was slowly sinking into ruin. Determined to disprove Imaobong's claims, Chief Okoye's lawyer suggested a DNA test. Confident that the test would clear his name, Imaobong agreed. The tension was palpable as both sides anxiously awaited the results. Imaobong, certain the test would prove the chief's guilt, steeled herself for victory. The truth, however, was about to take an unexpected turn. The DNA test results were revealed, and to everyone's shock, the twins were not Chief Okoye's children. The courtroom fell into stunned silence. Imaobong's world came crashing down as the lie she had crafted crumbled. But before she could collect herself, she blurted out, "But I used your condom, from your very own bedroom, to inseminate myself." The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. The room was buzzing with disbelief, and the truth of the situation became even more murky. Who could have been responsible for the twins' conception? The courtroom was tense, the air thick with anticipation as the truth of Imaobong's claim was still being debated. Her fabricated story had just been shattered by the DNA test results, which confirmed that the twins were not Chief Okoye's children. The room buzzed with whispers as Imaobong's credibility continued to crumble, but as she sat in silence, the door opened, and a new figure stepped into the room. It was Adiz, a woman who had worked as a maid in the compound years ago. She had left the job after an altercation with Chief Okoye's children, but she still maintained a distant relationship with a few old acquaintances. Adiz had attended the hearing out of curiosity, but what she was about to reveal would change the course of the trial forever. As she stepped forward, she caught the attention of the judge and everyone present. She was not a familiar face to many in the room, but her reputation as a sharp observer had spread quietly among the servants who once worked in the Okoye household. She cleared her throat and spoke, her voice steady and calm. "I remember that night," she began, her eyes scanning the room. "The night Imaobong claims the chief fathered her twins." She paused, the room hanging on her every word. "I didn't believe her then, and I don't believe her now. But I do remember seeing someone else, enter the chief's room that night." A murmur rippled through the courtroom as Adiz's words settled in. Chief Okoye's eyes narrowed, his brow furrowing. "Who was it?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. Adiz met his gaze, and without hesitation, she said, "Udoka. The gateman." I saw him enter the chief's room late that evening. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now. She trailed off, her words hanging in the air, as everyone in the room processed what this new revelation meant. The shock was immediate. A trusted member of the household, the man who had served Chief Okoye loyally for years, now seemed to be at the heart of the mystery. The judge immediately ordered the review of the CCTV footage from that night. Everyone knew that the footage would either clear or further complicate the matter. The tension in the courtroom escalated as the video was played, showing the hallways of the Okoye compound, silent and deserted. Then, there it was, Udoka, slipping into Chief Okoye's room under the cover of darkness. The footage was damning. There was no mistaking what was shown. Udoka had entered Chief Okoye's private quarters that night, and it was now clear that his actions had been more than just a casual mistake. The room went silent as the truth began to unfold, and the pieces of the puzzle clicked together. Realizing that the walls were closing in on him, Udoka's face turned pale as he was called to the stand. His pride had always been his shield, but now, with the undeniable evidence against him, he had no choice but to confess. I didn't mean for this to happen, Udoka admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I had been with women before, but I never thought something like this would come to light. He bowed his head in shame as the court listened attentively. I was reckless, and I shouldn't have used the chief's room like that. The judge, along with everyone in the room, processed his words. What had started as a scandalous tale about the chief's supposed infidelity had now shifted entirely. The real betrayal lay in Udoka's actions, and his willingness to cover up his involvement in a way that threatened to destroy the lives of many. Amidst the chaos, Imaobong gave birth to the twins. These children, born of ambition and deceit, became a symbol of a desperate woman's hunger for power. The compound, once grand and full of life, now stood as a shadow of its former glory. As the twins grew, they became a constant reminder of the mistakes and lies that led to their birth. The legal battle continued as Imaobong faced charges of defamation, fraud, and manipulation. Her world was unraveling, and though she was free from jail, the legal system offered no mercy. The court's final ruling would decide her fate and the future of the twins, now caught in the web of their parents' ambitions. As Imaobong faced the prospect of jail time, she knew that the only way to avoid prison was through the mercy of Chief Okoye. She had crossed every line possible, but could she redeem herself for the sake of the twins? With the court's decision looming, the suspense was thick. Would Chief Okoye allow her a final chance at redemption, or would he turn his back on her forever? In a surprising and selfless move, Chief Okoye decided to withdraw the court case. Though Imaobong had betrayed him, he couldn't bear to see the twins suffer. He made the difficult decision to spare her from jail time, but there would be no reconciliation between them. She was no longer to be part of his world. Imaobong would raise the twins under court supervision, with Udoka, whose actions had compounded the scandal, playing a role in their upbringing. The compound was forever changed. Chief Okoye, though now free from scandal's grip, couldn't escape the haunting reality of his past. His reputation was tarnished, but he rebuilt his life, keeping his distance from the people who had once been part of his world. Imaobong and Udoka, on the other hand, were left to raise the twins. The children, though innocent, were caught in a legacy of betrayal, ambition, and scandal. The future remained uncertain, and as they grew, they would come to learn the weight of their origins. In the end, the story of twins of betrayal was not one of grand redemption, but of the consequences of ambition and deception. The legacy of a broken family and a shattered empire lived on, a silent reminder that sometimes, the pursuit of power and love comes at a price too high to pay.
If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel for more African folktales and legends. Help us keep the traditions of our ancestors alive by sharing our content with your friends and family. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.